Tristen, quintessential gentleman interview, take one.
This is Tristen Walker, founder and CEO of Walker & Company Brands, makers of Bevel. I'm the quintessential gentleman because I know the power of ownership. Yeah, I started Walker & Company because I felt we deserved better. I mean, black men, right? Especially when it came down to our grooming products and hair care products. I felt it was too complex. No one taught me how to shave the right way. I felt it was a rite of passage we all deserved to learn, and we needed a brand to help teach us how to do that. That combined with building products that we're proud to put on our shelves was important to me, and I felt that there was a wide open gap to do something special for the community. Yeah, I'm not a chemist at all. I've never, before I started the company, never made personal care products. I just got started. I tried to find all the private label manufacturers I could find. I found one in Oklahoma. She was willing to make me products for free. I went through about 5 or 6 different samples of all of our products. And it turned out after the 6th time, we had the products that worked. And then we shipped 3 months later. Yeah, so last year we had merged with Procter& Gamble, and really the stipulation behind that merger was they had to let us do our thing, right? We had the good fortune to be sought after by a bunch of folks, but Procter& Gamble shared our values, and they asked us a simple question, what do you want to do and what do you want to create? And I said I want to do what I'm doing for the next 100+ years, and the only way to do that is to let us do our thing. And they were willing to be hands-off about it. And as a function of it, we still get to do our thing as authentically as possible. I'm still CEO of Walker & Company, but we get to leverage them to our benefit with product development, marketing, etc. When I think about black business, how many companies out there have been around for 100 years? How many businesses have been around for more than 100 years? And when I think about Procter & Gamble, they've been around for over 180 years. And I had every intent to build something with as much legacy as a Procter & Gamble, right? So I'm very, very thankful they had a willingness to believe in us. And I'm not going to stop until that happens. Yeah, so I always talk about that story of going to a retailer, right? Always having to go to the ethnic beauty aisle, and it's always this shelf in the corner because it's never an aisle. And then there's products I'm trying to find that I can't, use for myself. They don't work as well as they need to. The design is terrible. There's always a photo of like a bald black dude in a towel drinking a cognac on the packaging. That needs to stop, right? And I felt when you think about shaving, skincare, body, hair care, there was no brand serving all the head-to-toe needs that we need, right? And Bevel aimed when we started out to be the first to do it, and we've done it. And I'm very, very proud to say that we have. When we started Bevel, we started with one view of the world that I still think I have today, and that's all global culture is led by American culture, which is led by black culture in the US, right? I feel that, I believe it strongly, and you can't really understand what that means unless you understand community. So without community, Bevel wouldn't exist, and I say that with as much conviction as anything. I mean, my 2 sons are my legacy. I think about the products that they have to use, and the products they won't have to use anymore now that Bevel exists. And when I think about this kind of 150-year vision we have for the company, it's not only my sons, it's their sons, and it's their sons' sons. I'm very proud that now, my sons don't have to use any other products other than Bevel products that are made for them. And that's a pretty special moment for me. Yeah, so Code 2040 started 7 years ago, and we started with what we call the Fellows Program. And the aim of it was to get the highest performing Black, Latino engineering undergraduates internships out in Silicon Valley and provide them with all the tools they need to be successful. Media training, fireside chats with luminaries, that sort of thing. And Code 2040 has turned into the largest community kind of really helping racial equity in the innovation economy. And we aim to connect and mobilize all the people that believe in that same mission. And I'm very, very proud over 7 years we've done something pretty special in that community. Yeah, so I stopped liking that word mentor a long time ago, and it's pretty much because when people say they have mentors, they always think about someone who's older than they are, right? And I think more importantly, you need to be around people who share your values, right? People who share your values can be older than you are, they can be younger than you are. You have a lot to learn from older and younger people. So I started to get rid of that word a long time ago because, look, a lot of the mentors that I had when I was 20 years old, I don't even speak to anymore. I don't even know what they're up to anymore, right? So I think in terms of values and advisory as opposed to mentorship, if that makes sense. So at Walker & Company, like, we're still gonna grow Bevel. We just launched 11 new products, which I'm very excited about to round out the line. Bevel's gonna keep making products, keep innovating there. We still have things like geographic distribution. We're gonna start selling at more retailers coming soon, so we're very excited about that. Walker & Company's gonna make new brands. We already have a second brand called Form, the sister brand of Bevel, hair care for women. And we're gonna keep innovating for us, man. Like, we deserve it. I'm very excited that we have the platform, the community, and the ability to do so. It's our time. First steps to grooming are to ask the right questions. I think a lot of people, especially with the way that brands have marketed to us, they make it way too complex. And it doesn't need to be that complex. So the first thing I tell people, go to getbevel.com, right? And we'll teach you and we'll walk you through it, right? Whether that's shaving, whether that's your skincare routine, whether that's your hair care routine, whether it's your body routine. It doesn't need to be so complex. You just gotta get started. I mean, Bevel's the first and only head-to-toe solution for black men, period, right? That void is wide. And you think about it, this industry has been around for centuries, right? And nobody's tried to do that for us. That's a problem. And Bevel came and filled that void, and we're not trying to give any room to anybody else. Yeah, man, one lesson I learned as a barbershop is be very skeptical. Right? I've only had like 4 people cut my hair my entire life, and I was one of them. Right, so the good thing, my son started going to the barbershop once we moved out to Atlanta last year, and he's had the same barber ever since. So the one thing I can tell him is, make sure you know who your barber is. Be skeptical if you use another one. Yeah, when I think about the barbershop, it's the epicenter of the culture, right? Especially for a lot of black men. It's a place for us to convene, to talk. Without bias, and I appreciate that. So I love being around it, right? The way I like to get my haircut, though, is in complete silence. Really, the only people I speak to during my haircut is my barber, right? Which I appreciate. And now, look, she has her own kind of barbershop loft, which is great. But I just go there to get my good haircut, right? And just talk to her about how her business is doing. Which is something that really does get lost in a lot of this barbershop banter stuff, right? I care a lot about supporting her and her own black-owned business too. Yeah, so the number one product, especially the one that we just launched, of the 11 products we just launched, that seems to be the most popular. We launched this aluminum-free deodorant. Now, while it sounds like, basic aluminum-free deodorant, it's a bit of a breakthrough. First of all, it's clinically proven, prevents things like odor up to 48 hours, right? We figured out a way to allow the formulation to penetrate coarse curly hair, right? Better than anything else on the market. It's streak-free, right? So those 3 things have allowed us to sell out that product within a couple days of launching it, which is crazy. That's one thing, especially for people who are just trying to get into the game and get something better for themselves. It's probably a good one to get started with. I mean, which is worse between having a bad lineup or losing $50? It's definitely having a bad lineup. I lose a lot of money before I have a bad lineup. So one of the greatest memories that I had starting this company, which I hope to be a bigger experience, is for fathers and sons to just experience Bevel together. When my son was 2 years old, I took him to a Target store for the first time when we got on shelves. And I had this realization that not only was it the first time he was in a retail store, right? He didn't have to go to ethnic beauty aisle, right? Which is a pretty important moment for black men. His father was on the box and he recognized it before I did, right? When we walked down that aisle. And I had this moment of his realizing that his father can have ownership. And when I think about what we're doing for black men and black families, and this idea of not only grooming but the ability to own what you create, those memories will stick in my head forever. But I hope that this inspires other people to create similar types of memories for themselves. Yeah, so there's some brothers who I've looked up to, who've given me some really, really great advice along the way. There's two in particular. One's Tyler Perry. You talk about owning your stuff, especially as a black-owned business. I learned a great deal from him. He taught me one thing that stuck with me for a while. He said, Tristen, you got to realize that the trials you go through and the blessings you receive are the exact same things. Especially as entrepreneurs, right? Those trials are lessons, and those lessons are blessings. Another guy, a gentleman, Charles King, who started a production company called Macro Studios. And actually, I got introduced to Tyler via Charles, who was an investor in the company. And here's a guy who said, you know what? Hollywood needs to look different, right? And I'm gonna take it upon myself to make that happen. And he's created some wonderful productions, movies, supporting the community as a black-owned business, right? Again, ownership. So I appreciate when other black men who are going through the struggle to teach people how to own and what that means for them. I'll never forget kind of those learnings.